Hello, and welcome to the For We Are Many podcast. My name is Rob, and today we have a whole round table. If you want to just go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm John. Nice to meet you guys. Sorry.
I'm Chelsea.
Rock on.
James says it's time. That it is, James. That it is.
What's up,
yeah,
absolutely.
There is so much that we could talk about today. Honestly, narrowing it down to a few big things was, well, not exactly easy. But we did kind of narrow it down to dissecting a few points from Trump's rally in Texas. Like the Democrats are trying to act, and the liberal media for that matter is trying to act like Trump's just gone now, right? Like he got voted out, he tried to stay, but it didn't work, and it's over. But I don't see it that way. I think history shows that that's probably not what's going to happen. Biden is bombing Syria again. That's unfortunate news. We'll dive a little bit into that. And then NATO pushing for land war in Russia in the winter. How dumb can you get?
Pretty damn
for
stupid.
Fun.
Yeah. And it's just kind of disappointing. We're seeing like a lot of so-called lethal aid coming in from Great Britain. We're getting armor coming in from Germany. We're getting, and when I say armor, I mean like body armor and helmets and stuff. They faced a lot of criticism for not sending weapons and etc. And then you've got, of course, bullets and weaponry coming from America, like javelins and stingers. And I don't know. I won't get into it, but it's a big mess.
We'll also be talking about Taiwan because, there's a little more to it than China bad.
Yeah.
Spotify. How can we not talk about Spotify at this point? It's not really cancel culture. It's more like consequences culture. And I mean, the same people bitching about, the whole fucking defending Joe Rogan side is the same side that is fucking banning books again.
An idiot.
We're gonna.
An idiot that does not read is not equivalent to burning a book. Like, not listening to him is not equivalent to not, I mean, that's not the same thing. We didn't say burn him alive.
We're gonna let Trisha go on a rant about Whoopi Goldberg. More on that later. And Amnesty International finally declared Israel an apartheid state. It has been for a very long time, so it's about time. Right. So which one of these do you guys want to dive into first?
I'm not sure.
That's fucking funny, James. Oh, man.
Winter does suck. We could talk about that too.
You were kind of cutting out a little there, but I got that Russia, Ukraine is a good place to start. So like, who here knows where Ukraine is?
After I Googled it.
I mean, I'm doing the same thing right now. I mean, I know relatively
By
where
Russia,
it is.
isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I win.
It is south of Russia. It's kind of like almost surrounded by Russia.
Yeah, it really is.
And I mean, historically speaking, it's been part of Russia more than it's not been part of Russia.
Man, I want to say.
I just want to open this map, you stupid thing.
Yeah, I have trouble with these phones and computers too.
I'll be right back. Sorry. This is the warmest room in the house. I didn't realize that it was actually this warm. So.
Oh. I thought you were always cold or some shit.
Yeah, no, well, my office is like super hot. I didn't know it was this warm in here, or I would have hung out in here all day.
Gotcha. Okay, so I have a map, you guys. I found a map.
Beautiful. Nice.
Okay, so like, obviously, all of these countries were part of the former Soviet bloc, but Russia has this is the Crimean Peninsula, right? No, because it's not a peninsula. It's an island, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was the Crimean Peninsula. Either way, the point is, this is all Russia. The area where all of this shit is going on is right here, the Donetsk region. As you see, it's right up against Russia. They've been wanting to rejoin Russia pretty much since the fall of the Soviet Union. Our media just repeatedly calls them Russian-backed separatists, but the reality is they never wanted to be part of Ukraine.
Yeah, that's the reality of it. I mean, and they've really been struggling ever since the fall of the Soviet bloc. Ukraine gained its independence in 1999, and ever since then, they've been feeling the influences of both West and, the NATO, of course, European Union. And a lot of those areas you're talking about, majority of them are Russian-speaking. They're ethnically Russian. They enjoyed the way the system was under the Soviet bloc, and now they're in a situation where the Ukrainian fascist government literally has Nazis in government office right now. It's pretty safe to say that they don't want to be a part of that, and the United States is just ignoring that fact, when reality is like they don't want to be part of a fascist government. It's that simple.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that.
Absolutely.
Well, not only that, it also has to do with treaties that were signed between NATO and the Russian Federation that said that NATO was never supposed to go any closer to Russia's borders than Germany.
Yeah.
And I mean, now they're like basically trying to pressure Ukraine into joining NATO, even though they don't necessarily want to. Like, even the government, let alone the people, are, very split on it. But, of course, and Putin isn't too far off the mark calling Ukraine a U.S. puppet state.
It really is. I mean,
so Biden authorized, I think it was 8,500 troops to Eastern Europe, not Ukraine, but Eastern Europe, like Poland, I think, right on the other side of Ukraine, which is a NATO nation, by the way, which has a fascist government, by the way. Anyway, so like NATO even being in Poland is in violation of this treaty with the Russian Federation. But now Biden deployed troops, or authorized the deployment of troops there, and then said that he didn't really, at the time, said that he didn't really anticipate sending them there. It was just to keep them on high alert. And then he deployed 3,000 troops to Poland anyway.
Yep.
Make it make sense.
It's kind
First
of like
of all, why did he put him on high alert in the first place if he wasn't planning on sending them? Why lie about it at this point?
Yeah. It's kind of like the advisors we sent into Vietnam. They were just there to advise. They weren't there to die and spark a war, were they? They were just advisors, That's how it is. They put these boys right out there and say, I dare you to shoot one of ours, or we'll start a war. And that's what happens. One of them dies. And then next thing you know, we're in Vietnam for 20 years.
So Maya said Canada sent special forces on January 22nd. Was that into Ukraine, or was that also like us into Poland?
Yeah. A lot of the CIA and OGA guys, with special forces too,
Yeah. James, you're absolutely right. He wants to kill people. We'll talk about Syria right after this, probably, because it's still Biden. But yeah, he wants to kill people, and he wants to ask for more and more and more and more and more money.
Yep.
While we're on this is a quick sidebar. I promise I won't go down the rabbit hole. But while we're on the topic of military defense contractors or government contractors in general, Wade said, "What's with Nazis in Poland?" Sorry. Anyway, I was talking about the next generation delivery vehicle for the United States Postal Service. So, like, there's a mandated by law environmental review, right? And the EPA is pissed that the Postal Service just gave this contract to this defense contractor, didn't, really test it or anything. And the press release said that it was either going to be a fuel efficient internal combustion system with the option to be converted to electric at a later date, or battery electric vehicles. And then the EPA found that they were only planning to do 10% battery electric of the entire fleet, and the remaining 90% were not planned on being converted at all. And the fuel efficiency is not there at all. It's only 0.4 miles per gallon better than the ones that they've been producing for the last 30 something years.
Yep.
So it's just a big money pit.
Exactly. And
Generally, yeah, but I just wanted to point out that it continues.
yeah.
Right. Every time that I'm looking down like this, it's because I'm like sharing, just so everybody knows. Anyway, yeah, anybody else got anything to say about Biden trying to start a land war in Russia in the wintertime?
Dumb.
So,
I know I
like,
speak for everybody when I say we don't want it. But
so we didn't learn from Hitler. We didn't learn from Napoleon. We didn't learn from any of the invaders to Russia before that. We're just going to keep fucking doing it.
yeah.
It's like they want them to do something to us.
Yeah.
Like, of all the places you can invade, like, this is the one that could actually come back home to us. Like, I mean, it's all coming back home to us anyway, but this, I think, is going to be much more direct.
Yeah. James, I don't know if he really grasps the big picture. I'm sure his handlers do, but I'm not sure if he really grasps the magnitude of the situation there. Like, I mean, it was such a game for the entire Cold War. He probably still considers it a game.
It's a game because they're not ever the ones dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I just don't know how, if we get them somehow or invaded somehow because we fucked with the wrong people, then I don't see how anybody could think that this would look good even for a politician.
Yeah. Well said. Does
But I
anybody
mean,
happen to
people will
have?
defend me.
Never mind. I'll never mind. Carry on.
I mean, I just think people will defend him. I mean, Trump already kind of upped the whole anti-Russian shit, so now it's just going to keep rolling that way. So whoever does something first, everybody's going to think it's justified.
Huh. So okay, I was looking at a different map. This one's from this BBC. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm gonna share this with you. It shows the supposed. Remember, this is Western media. But according to the BBC, this is the deployment of Russian troops. What are the numbers unconfirmed? That's promising. Anyway, so this was this is Crimea. I was right. So yeah, this is Russia, and all of this is Russia, and Ukraine kind of just juts into Russia. And as John was saying, they're ethnically Russian. They speak Russian. Most of them have always known Russia as their like motherland. So it would make sense that they wouldn't want to be part of Ukraine. And we're trying to get fucking. It's going to be a global thing. I mean, NATO is pretty much. Well, let me Google what countries are in NATO. I know I should have had this ready to go before that, but whatever. One of these days I'll learn that. Okay. At present, NATO has 30 members. In 1949, there were 12 founding members: Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The other member countries are Greece and Turkey, Germany, Spain, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Poland, Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia, Albania and Croatia, Montenegro, and North Macedonia. Versus, that is a lot.
Dang.
That is a lot. I also thought that like Sweden was part of it, but apparently just Denmark and Norway and Iceland. Huh. Anyway, the reason that Germany is 3 years later is because there was a way back in the Soviet days, right? There was a treaty that was signed then that was supposed to keep anything east of Germany out of NATO. And then basically a different version of the same treaty was signed by the Russian Federation after the fall of the Soviet Union. So they're in violation of both already, right? And Russia's not making any effort to attack us. They're just literally beefing up their borders because we are putting troops on a foreign continent while spreading aggressive rhetoric about them. Like, I see it as a defensive move more than an offensive move. And I'm not trying to, like, stand up for Putin here. I'm just trying to, like, look at it from an anti-imperialist standpoint, and which I'm not even saying that Putin is that. But, I mean, if you were the president of a country and you were responsible for millions of lives, would you be comfortable with a foreign power, sending troops on your continent? Or like getting an antagonistic global organization involved in your affairs? I mean, I can't really blame him, and I think that it's being handled about as peacefully as it's going to get.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with the 3,000 troops in Poland, that's great. Wade said I sound like Yakko. How do I sound like Yakko?
I don't know who Yakko is.
Didn't you ever watch the fucking the Animaniacs?
I vaguely remembered that existing.
Great.
I don't know. I'm not a TV person. So, until recently, I guess.
So do we want to listen to Biden talk about the Syria thing?
Oh God, yeah, go ahead. Let's find out why we're in Syria 20 fucking years later. Let's find out why we're in the
Actually,
Middle East.
were we done with Ukraine first of all?
Yeah, no. I mean, there's just a lot of shit. It's so much to cover. Like, if you're watching this, please just research it more. Like, there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of shit going on with the West. It is not how it's being portrayed by American media at all. Like, Joe Biden's son had a Ukrainian company in there which was stealing 30 or 40% of Russia's oil. They were stealing their fucking oil. And then everybody wants to get pissed off when Russia shuts down the pipelines. Well, if somebody was taking my oil, I'd shut the pipeline down too. I mean,
right.
That's what this is really about, is that pipeline that's running through Ukraine. That's what this war is about. I don't know. And Joe Biden's company in Ukraine. Huh? Oh. Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's what it's all about. And NATO expansionism too. I mean, we've seen the same thing back in 2008 in Georgia, where, they were threatening to become part of NATO. They were doing invasion drills, the whole 9 yards, and then Russia intervened because right outside of Georgia is Turkey, one of NATO's largest members. And Georgia might not be able to fuck Russia up, but if they open up a path for Russia to go through Turkey, Turkey's really going to fuck them up. So that's why they invaded Georgia, because, you know, like it left them strategically open. Like, you got to think, people are looking at this through the Western lens of everything, and it's completely unrelated. The stuff they're talking about is unrelated to it, you know. What's actually going on.
Right. So I don't want the whole. Okay. Okay. We got this. All right. So first of all, this footage was broadcast by CNN. It should be public domain. There should not be any music in it. We shouldn't get flagged for it.
The leader of ISIS, this from the White House.
Operating on my orders, the United States military forces successfully removed a major terrorist threat to the world, the global leader of ISIS, known as Haji Abdullah. He took over as leader of ISIS in 2019 after the United States counterterrorism operation killed al-Baghdadi. Since then, ISIS has directed terrorist operations targeting Americans, our allies and our partners, and countless civilians in the Middle East, Africa, and in South Asia. Haji Abdullah oversaw the spread of ISIS-affiliated terrorist groups around the world after savaging communities and murdering innocents. He was responsible for the recent brutal attack on a prison in northeast Syria holding ISIS fighters.